A history buff walks into a bar and the barman says, "We don't serve time travellers here." Well, let me tell you, when you visit the port of Echuca, you'll believe you've stepped back in time, and the things you can learn, they'll knock your socks off. Come with me and I'll show you what some of them are. Echuca's early origins are largely thanks to a gentleman called Henry Hopwood, an ex-convict from Britain. He was the gentleman who established early businesses including punts and inns in the district where Echuca was later to be founded. Still remaining today, the Bridge Hotel was one of Hopwood's inns. From his scurrilous past and convict dealings, Hopwood is now remembered as the father of Echuca. He passed away in 1869 of fevers. However, the town that he was so fundamental in helping to create is still a vibrant place filled with life and excitement. And that's what we're going to explore today. The area where Echuca was built was the land of the Yorta people. They lived here for tens of thousands of years before European settlement. For them, the Murray River was a place of ceremony, sustenance and connection. And the name Echuca came from one of their words, meaning a meeting of the waters. The Murray cod, also known as barunga, was a very important food source to these people. Also was an important cultural totem that was tied to the river's spirit. Just one block back from the main street of Echuca, a historical street has been preserved, even retaining the original wooden guttering that would have helped take some of the drainage of the street away from people's shoes. Echuca was connected by rail to Melbourne in 1864, and the Victorian Railways built the port of Echuca wharf, which allowed them to link the paddle steamer trade from the river all the way down to Melbourne with a quick and easy freight line. This made Echuca the most efficient and the largest inland port in Australia, dramatically boosting trade in wool, timber and agricultural produce. However, the real attraction here is the port of Echuca itself. Let's go inside and check it out. The Port of Echuca Discovery Centre is a marvel for two reasons. First of all, it's completely free. You can enter here, have a look at all of the exhibitions and walk right around the wharves, the ports, examine the paddle steamers and learn so much. The second reason why it's fantastic is because there is just so much to see here. There's so much history that's been captured and you can learn a lot. What a beautiful experience and completely free. So why were these paddle steamers just so important to the growing colony of New South Wales or Australia? Well, the Murray River paddle steamers were vital because they provided the very first fast, reliable and large-scale transport system for wool, wheat, timber and supplies from inland Australia to the coastal markets. These linked isolated stations to Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide and beyond. In its heyday, the wharf was over 300 metres long, although only 75 metres remains today. Moored alongside, you can see the PS Adelaide, built in Echuca in 1866. This is the oldest wooden-hulled paddle steamer still in operation worldwide. So many of these vessels were lost, but thankfully this one was purchased by the local community, faithfully restored, and is now still operational as a passenger steamer which you can purchase tickets on to cruise the river. During our trip, we visited on a weekday outside of holiday period and expected to be able to just walk onto one of these boats. However, they were fully booked out by school groups and others. So make sure you book in advance if you want to get a seat on one of these paddle steamers. They are very popular. The PS Pevensey, sailing here, started life in 1910, caught fire in the 1920s, then ended up in a very poor state, as so many of its brethren did. However, it was restored in the 1970s and went on to great fame as the Philadelphia in the TV miniseries version of Nancy Catto's novel All the Rivers Run. A celebration of river life in the 19th and 20th century. All the rivers run put Echuca on the spotlight, and you can still ride on the very same vessel today, and we missed out because we didn't book our tickets. The novel and miniseries were both inspired by Pearl Wallace, Australia's first qualified female riverboat skipper. Pearl was master of numerous vessels and had a very successful career for around 30 years until her retirement in 1977. PS Success being one of the vessels that she mastered. Pearl was described as being tough as nails and was inspirational for other women who followed in her footsteps, as well as for the miniseries. There were two main resources needed for the river trade. Water, of course, or else you can't float the ships. But the second one was timber. Timber for fuel and timber for milling. Victoria was in drought during our visit, and the river level was low. And you get a real sense of perspective standing at the bottom of the wharf, looking up the 3-storey high structure. This was all built out of river red gum, all milled locally, all cut out of the local forests. The locals said that the gum was so tough you could dull an axe in a single swing. And the shipwrights said building a steamer from red gum was like persuading iron to float. And yet those vessels endured decades of service, and this wharf in sections has been standing since the 1860s, which shows just how good the timber really is. The timber was all milled in steam-powered sawmills, like this one preserved here at the port. Logs would be dropped in the bush, dragged out with bullock teams and down to the river, where it would be floated downstream to these sawmills, where it would be milled into usable lumber for either shipbuilding, wharf building, and for export to the major cities. One of the things that's very striking in a place like this is just how quiet the steam equipment is. Now, on the day we were there, the sawmill itself wasn't operating, and I'm not sure if they do sawmill demonstrations here or not, but I've heard steam sawmills in other areas, and the only noisy part of the whole operation is the saw cutting itself. The background sounds that you can hear here are the actual steam engines working and driving these big wheels and a few pumps, and very little noise at all. It's beautiful to see that this has been restored and is here and running for people to come and experience something that you just won't find in the world today. In the early 1900s, two steamers, the PS Pevensey and the PS Hero, were hauling wool down the Murray. The captains were both really competitive and wanted to turn this trip into a race. Crowds gathered along the riverbanks as the word spread, cheering the boats on as they thundered past with their side paddles churning. The crews were stoking the boilers furiously, feeding big red gum logs into the fireboxes until sparks flew from the funnels. The Pevensey surged ahead, but in the rush, her boiler overheated and the captain had to back off, allowing the Hero to slip past and claim victory. Now, why do stories like this matter? Because it's a story of people pushing boundaries, a story of people not being content just to settle in and poke along, but who actually wanted to get out there, get after it, and that's how we've actually been able to build a nation. So I think it's really special that we capture these things, and it's fantastic that the Port of Echuca gives us the opportunity to step back in time and to visit some of these amazing things. We're back in fly country, there's no doubt about that. We're in the Mallee country here, and have a look behind me. We see things we haven't seen before, visit places that look like they belong on another planet, and find out if salt is really salty. Go on, hit the subscribe button. You'll get to see more of our adventures on this great Aussie road trip. Thanks for watching. What do you think, Jayne? Is it good?
It's lovely. It's a lovely little setting too.
What's your biscuit?
Passion fruit yo-yo.
Nice.
Oh, don't know if I've got any seeds. Yep, seeds. Passion fruit seeds. Yum, yum.